Welcome to the worst sports channel on YouTube, Hot Garbage Sports, with me, Coach Ryan D. All right, the official list is out and it matches the leaked list for the Seattle Kraken that we saw earlier today. Video link above if you want to check it out. But let's go through the actual official list today and let's talk about some of the possible strategies that Ron Francis ended up using to build this team. This was definitely a much more lackluster expansion draft than the Vegas Golden Knights. There was a lot less going on. There wasn't a single trade or side deal that has been revealed yet throughout the night. So very pragmatic, very simple draft. Let's roll the intro. Let's get after it. Go Kraken fans.
Here's Lemieux. The center penalty coming up.
All right, so we're taking a look at 15 forwards, 12 defensemen, and 3 goalies. And the theme in this draft is going to be cap space, and cap space. You know who else has a lot of cap space? The Arizona Coyotes. They come combined with 6,264 NHL games played, and a lot of that is concentrated within a few veterans picked for this team. The average age is about 26 years old, and frankly, a lot of it feels like an AHL style roster. But stick with us to the end of the video because there could be some smart stuff going on in here. So, first off, let's take a look at the goalies. Driedger, Vanacek, and Daccord. So we called 2 of those goalies correct. I definitely thought they were going to go big fish hunting, whether that be a Ben Bishop, maybe even a Jonathan Quick. I was definitely banking on the fact that they would take a little bit of a cheaper team and backstop it with Carey Price, but that isn't the case. So Ron Francis is hoping here that he can find lightning in a bottle, and then Chris Driedger is going to be his guy that can carry him forward and get him some wins and help him build a fan base out in Seattle. I know that the fans sold out within 12 minutes. They're starved for hockey. The Seattle Thunderbirds do very, very well out there. Home of a really good friend of mine, Connor Roulette, who we're going to talk about later as he goes relatively high in this year's NHL draft. What is up, Connor? Seattle is a hockey town, but if I think about your chances of winning a cup or what you need in order to win a cup, you need a hot goaltender or an elite goaltender. So only time will tell if Chris Driedger, the Winnipeg native, can do that with his backup partner from Washington, Vanacek. Now, Daccord's a nice young add to it as well, too, to have as a third goalie in your system. And we do know that there are free agent goalies out there that the Seattle Kraken can try and woo over into their team, including Tuukka Rask, who, yes, he's injured, but maybe you go ahead and take a look at that because you've got some cap space. Frederik Andersen or one of the other free agent goalies, maybe they get in on that. So they're definitely not done. This is just the beginning of their team building, but for right now, this is the goalie core that they're going after. And frankly, I find it a little bit underwhelming. Do I think they can win with it? I think any goalie can get hot. Remember the Hamburglar? He got really hot. Jordan Binnington came out of nowhere and actually is remaining as a high-end goalie. He didn't fall off like a lot of one-hit wonders do. So is Chris Driedger ready to shoulder the load? Yep, it's a nice cap hit. Yes, we need to talk about cap space. Yes, there's going to be people saying that having cap space is the biggest asset in the NHL. But you know what's better than cap space? Winning Stanley Cups. So do we think this is the crew that can get it done? You let me know down below in the comments. Now, let's go ahead and take a look at the defensemen here. The defensemen have a unique theme that we can see, and that theme is size. These are big boys, and Ron Francis likes to play a gritty style of hockey. Most of these guys play defense the right way. They're meat and potatoes style defensemen that are going to clear the front of the net, and they're going to make it very easy for Driedger and Vanacek to stop pucks. I think this is definitely the biggest strength of this team. They're headlined by Mark Giordano and Adam Larsson. Very unique, mind-blowing situation that Larsson ends up signing as an unrestricted free agent in Seattle. It was all but a done deal in the dirt sheets that he was going to stay with Edmonton, but he makes a break to nicer weather and a beautiful city in Seattle. So thus ends the Adam Larsson experiment in Edmonton. And now both Taylor Hall and Larsson are out of there. So no more Tyler, or whoever you traded him for, which was Adam. That is done, and Edmonton gets to move forward. The second pair is likely going to be some combination of Vince Dunn and Oleksiak. This is a big man. Like, we're talking about 6'7", 255 pounds. Definitely one of the biggest players in the league. I have to think that if the Winnipeg Jets didn't protect Logan Stanley, who is also a 6'7", 6'8" defenseman, that he would have definitely been going Ron Francis's way. And it was very shocking because we only see 3 right-handed shots dragged drafted by Francis, with Dylan DeMello being available from Winnipeg, and definitely one of the better right-handed shot defensemen available. But he goes ahead, he takes Mason Appleton at forward, which is a good pick. But when we take a look at this defense core, we can see it is very heavy on the left side. Third pairing is likely going to be Lauzon and Saucy. What more is there to say? It's a nice player. We called Lauzon from Boston over Nick Ritchie. I think he's the right pick from Boston. Saucy is a very big, very solid defenseman from Minnesota. So I like this top six. I think this top six can absolutely get it done. By the way, in this defensive core, where's Jake Bean? Well, the crap I got in the comments for not picking Jake Bean. You know who else didn't pick Jake Bean? Ron Francis. I see nothing wrong with them. Maybe one or two of them still end up being traded or flipped to other teams. We're just going to have to wait and see. And then it's obviously rounded out by a pool of established defensemen as well as prospects, the likes of like William Borgen and other players that are going to graduate. So this gives you a really nice opportunity to have a good top 6, 7, or 8 right now within the system, as well as some prospects and things to grow to. So very smart job by Ron Francis and how he built his defensive core, and definitely the biggest strength of this team for now. Now we take a look at the forwards. The forwards, as we know, were always going to be weak down the middle. Centermen were a premium. There weren't too many centers available here. Definitely a little bit mind-blowing to me that they don't take a chance on Max Domi, especially with the amount of cap space that they left open. But we'll get into the strategies and why they left so much cap space open in a minute. But you have Yarncroc and Gourde really headlining the first two center positions, with Geeky, True, and Pitlick kind of coming in behind. This is a pretty weak core. Yanni Gourde from Tampa Bay makes sense. I likely would have been looking at Palat, but when you think about the fact that there's really just not a lot of centermen available for them to pick, this makes sense to me. I think had you added Max Domi to this group, I would have felt better with Yarncroc, Gourde, and Domi, but hey, here we are, and I'm not Ron Francis. So I think a lot of fans and a lot of people who did their mock drafts are going to be a little bit surprised by this team. Most people got somewhere between 8 to 12 right. We got about 9 right on this channel, but the big key when you're building a team, and we talked about it in our mock draft, is that you really have to have one single strategy and one player that you end up picking, or one player that becomes available that you weren't expecting, or a player like Adam Larsson who signs out of nowhere. Even Ron Francis said he was happy but pleasantly surprised that happened in a short period of time. That can change the makeup of your entire team, because it can change the plan for the next guys that you're going to pick down the road. So I definitely think it's a difficult exercise to get a lot of these players right for anybody. It doesn't matter how good and how long you've been watching hockey. Jared McCann, nice pick. I like the player. He's definitely going to fit into the top 6 for sure. I think in on the first line. Good job by Toronto. I mean, it didn't really cost them much more than a bag of pucks to get him in, and they're able to defend themselves from Kerfoot. Again, McCain's a nice player, but I probably would have rather had Kerfoot and taken Palat from Tampa Bay than Gourde plus McCann. There's a lot of hype out there for McCann, and what can he end up doing? I mean, he did amazing things in Pittsburgh, tucked behind Crosby and Malkin. I mean, he got to play on the top 6 at times there, so he could absolutely be the William Karlsson or Jonathan Marchessault for this team, but only time will tell. So I like the pick. Donskoy, really nice pick from Colorado. I think that was very obvious. Mason Appleton is absolutely ready to step up into a top 6 role, and Jordan Eberle makes all the sense in the world. You need to have some goal scoring, and when you look down this roster, there really isn't a ton of natural goal scorers, so bringing in Eberle over Bailey makes sense once you see the roster being constructed the way it is. I am very, very surprised that they did not take a single shot on a Tarasenko or a James Van Riemsdyk. Those are guys that can absolutely put in 30 goals, so yes, they have a salary cap hit, but I'm surprised you don't take a chance, because you need to score in order to win games, and if you're going to play a very defensive first game like it looks like they're ramping up to do, combine that with the fact that they didn't take a shot on one of the bigger goalies as well too, can leave you scratching your head a little bit after this. But again, we're going to talk about the strategy and how this may or may not work out. Their bottom 6 is rounded out by Brandon Tanev, again another Winnipeg guy, really big time character and penalty killer, so he'll be loved in the room. Absolutely a great pick from Pittsburgh. Then really, I don't know, not much to talk about after that. So what are they trying to do here? So in my opinion here, there's a couple things they're trying to do. This isn't likely the worst team in the Pacific Division. The Pacific Division right now is actually a little bit weak, so this team will compete. I don't think that this is going to be a playoff team. However, if Chris Drieger and the defensive core get hot, maybe maybe we could see them sneak late into the playoffs a la Nashville Predators. You know, if their goaltending trio is actually correct and hot enough to keep them in games, their defensive core is big and nasty, so they absolutely could slip in, winning a bunch of games 2-1, or even gaining a lot of loser points going into overtime, keeping low scoring games and keeping games close, because they definitely have defensive minded forwards. I think the other major point of this strategy is that Ron Francis, by leaving this amount of cap space open, is going to leave himself open for phone calls from teams now who are going to try to shed cap space in a flat cap era. So I think he's taking an opposite approach to what the Vegas Golden Knights did, where they were trying to collect picks and move players in and through their system. I called it the black market for defensemen and for goalies. Bring those guys in, trade them out to get picks. It looks like Ron Francis is going to use the fact that he has a lot of salary cap open right now to maybe field some phone calls from teams like Tampa Bay or other teams that have bad contracts that are starved to move players so they can continue competing, and seeing if he can bring those players in either at a discount or with picks attached. So we'll end up seeing what that looks like. Could a guy like Ryan Johansson or Matt Duchene or James Van Riemsdyk like still be on the table as a player that could come over with the other team retaining a bit of salary cap or draft picks coming this way? It absolutely could. So we're going to have to wait to see what he can do. However, looking at the fact that there was very little movement in this draft right now in this isolated moment, it really looks like this was an opportunity missed for Seattle. I think there was a big swing and a miss. Their asking price in order to take cap hits in certain players, I think, was probably way too high. And it seems very strange on the fact that you have 5 or 6 really prominent, big, elite NHL names available to pick, and you really don't take any of them. Mark Giordano is definitely one of them, and I think he comes in maybe as the inaugural captain. If not, he'll get an A, and he'll play for his couple years left here in Seattle, and they'll wait till they draft somebody to become a captain. That could be the way they go. I would probably just look to give it to Giordano as a coach. I mean, he's done it all. He's definitely a leader on this team, and I think having a leader for the men in the locker room is a big deal. So opportunity missed in my eyes. I don't think this team or the strategy that Ron Francis and the Seattle Kraken deployed was anywhere near as good as what the Vegas Golden Knights did. I know a lot of people are going to say the league was prepared and wasn't going to let Seattle do what Vegas did, but seeing the players that were exposed and some of the salary cap situations for teams, I really feel like the Kraken had the ability to exploit a lot of things in the league like Vegas did. I just think Kelly McCrimmon is one of the best general managers on the planet, and he's just absolutely fleeced people since his days starting as the general manager of the Vegas Golden Knights. Just an absolutely brilliant tactician of a general manager from the Brandon Wheat Kings in Manitoba here. Always got to give a big shout out to the hometown boys here, right? I think he takes Francis to school on this one. Opportunity missed. We'll see how the goalies shape up. I don't hate it. And the big thing that we all need to remember here is, regardless of my opinion or your opinion or any of the talking heads' opinions on TV, it's all about how this team is going to come together with chemistry in the room under the coach. That is what makes hockey hockey. This is a team game, and the game of hockey is so tight. NHL players are so close together in terms of skill. Any team can really win on any given night. I know that sounds like the cheesy any given Sunday, but it really is in the NHL. There's a lot of parity in teams, and when you get a goalie on a hot run or a team that's hot, take a look at the Montreal Canadiens in the playoffs this year, you can absolutely do some damage. But Montreal and teams that get hot have a couple secret weapons in terms of team chemistry or goaltenders. Remember when LA did it? They did it off the back of Jonathan Quick. Obviously, we've talked about St. Louis and the St. Louis Blues and Jordan Binnington. We've talked about the Montreal Canadiens in Carey Price. What do you want? The draft is done. It's really disappointing that the list got leaked. It felt really anticlimactic because all of it got out there before the draft hit. But here we go. We now know the 32nd team in the NHL, and the jerseys are beautiful. They are absolutely gorgeous jerseys. So good luck, Seattle. Good luck to the Seattle fan base. Let me know where you think they're going to end up this year. It's been Coach Ryan D. We'll see you for the draft tomorrow.